Let's see. All right, we are recording. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Drew Patterson, CEO of JetSetter, and we have 3 questions regarding Technology for Good. The first question is there a technology for good that you use or have experienced that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I think it's a tough question. Or, I mean, what does it mean to use a technology for good? I think, technologies to me are not intrinsically good, or there's no moral content to technology. It's only the ways in which they're used. I can tell you personally things that, I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but things that I thought were inspirational. I was at Creative Good, which is a sort of, I don't know if you're familiar with the organization. There was like cross-industry consortia of sort of like-minded professionals in the consumer space. Anyway, they had this guy who I'm now going to blank on his name, but you're putting me on the spot, so I didn't come prepared, who is described as Bill Gates' favorite teacher. And he started doing math lessons for, at that time, his niece. He was like an Indian guy. He had a niece, he was super invested in getting her into 8th grade or whatever it was, and started going through and doing lessons for her. And started with Algebra 1, and then did Geometry, and then did Algebra 2, and then it was Pre-Calculus, and then it was Calculus, and then Statistics, and kept going on and on. And it was really simple. You just had these like simple screen capture technology and broadcast them all on YouTube. But it's amazing what happened, right? I mean, he got literally millions of people to start looking at his lessons, and it was interesting to hear him tell his story of sort of what happened and what he thought connected with students around the world and of all ages, and what's come of that. And most of it I think has been in sort of the sciences. He's done history and lots of other things. And I thought, what is technology for good? I thought that was a powerful idea.
Yeah.
Very simple screen broadcasting. YouTube, like interesting.
Yep.
All sorts of things, right? I mean, YouTube, I'm sure, has less beneficent uses as well as things that are good like this. But anyway, I thought that was a good story.
Like you said, yeah, and I'm glad you raised the fact. I mean, how do you define? It's hard to define. And that's good. I'm glad you raised that too, because that's is a question that hopefully the blog will explore too. So second question is, if in your definition of technology for good, or creating something for the greater good, for philanthropic purpose, humanitarian purpose over any other, or primary purpose, what if you could create or send something out or have an idea or a concept? What would that be if you could do that right now?
Well, I'll pose another question to you. I suppose on similar lines, but that is to say, what does it mean for something to be philanthropic in nature? What is? I think the default sort of answer for things like that is, I'm giving computers to starving kids in Africa, right?
Yeah.
And certainly that is good. It sort of suggests otherwise, but but what is or what has to be present for something to be philanthropic in nature?
Yep.
One thing that so the answer I'm going to give you has nothing to do with sort of technology improving the lives of the developing world or the impoverished. But I thought it was pretty interesting, and I thought it was pretty good. And that is to say, I think technology has, in many instances, it's dehumanizing and it's atomizing, right? I mean, we get on the phone and we don't have face-to-face interactions anymore, right? We send emails, we do chats, we're on social media.
Yep.
They are dehumanizing kinds of interactions, or at least by and large have been dehumanizing kinds of interactions.
Yep.
And so we have a pretty big customer support organization, and talk to a lot of customers about a lot of things, and many times they don't go well. So and I'm in the travel business. I don't know whether your viewers know that. I run a company called JetSetter. JetSetter sells hotels and resorts and cruises and all sorts of travel experiences. And things often break when you travel, right? It's an unfortunate fact, but things don't always go that well. And as you might imagine, we sometimes get people on the phone with us who are complaining about things that didn't go well. So we have this. The story I'm going to tell you, we have this book club where once a month, we read a chapter out of a book, and kind of company breaks up, and folks from different parts of the organization reflect on whatever the message happens to be. And we were reading a chapter out of built to last. And it's kind of seminal business or history of some visionary companies. Quick on the topic of sort of what we do when we have people who are assholes on customer support. It's like, get on the phone, yell, scream, rant. How do we deal with that? And one of our customer service reps, I think made a very insightful point, which was, or to me, insightful point, which was, the approach is to just remind people that we are humans too, that we're people deserving of respect, and they should treat us as such. And that when we're able to do that, it changes for myself personally. When I get on the phone with a cable company to ask them why they turned off Showtime, or why I ended up with $50 worth of charges that I didn't think I deserved. It is a dehumanizing experience, right? I mean, I'm yelling into the phone of like some nameless, faceless, Comcast or whoever it is operation, and it's easy to forget that there's a person there. So, to make a long story not that short, what we've been talking about is there's a whole new wave of technology around identity, right? Social media, anytime the technology can be dehumanizing, it can also be personalizing and humanizing, and it makes it possible for identity being more present through some of these technologically mediated interactions. And so my answer for what is technology for good is at the same time that it can be dehumanizing, it can also bring people closer together. And having human kinds of interactions, I think, is more authentic and more satisfying, and in some sense philanthropic.
Well, that's great. I think that also pertained to your earlier point. I mean, your earlier example with the teacher with those lessons. I mean, that's extremely powerful.
Yeah.
So that's great.
His example was, look, my math teacher, as he told the story, my math teacher, I'm sure, gave the lesson on quadratic equations 300 times, right? Yeah. And the 300th time, it was less exciting than the first time, right? I mean, that's human nature. It's hard to get that fired up when you do these things over and over and over and over again. And he had the good fortune to only do it the first. The lessons, there would be times when he screwed things up, right? And that was part of his lesson, and that's part of the learning experience, right? I mean, students could relate to him, and they saw he wasn't perfect. I mean, the energy was just different. So anyway, interesting.
Well, thank you, Drew. I appreciate. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us, or not?
Well, you'd asked if there's anyone that I would suggest you get in touch with. There's a guy who has been very influential for me, and has done a bunch of really interesting things. I don't know if you know Paul.
I know his name.
But has been involved in a variety of sort of ways to make people's lives better and taking advantage of technology.
Well, that's great. Well, maybe on the next interview we'll see Paul. And for all the viewers, please do check out jetsetter.com if you have not. And it's an incredible new site, or not that new, but it's making waves right now. So this is a good thing.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Brilliant. First interview. I haven't. I've